And now we're moving on to our picks of the week. So this is where we talk about the things we've been doing, like playing, movies we've been watching, board games, books, whatever. So Nick, my friend, what is your pick of the week?
So my pick of the week might be a little bit familiar to Scotty. It's Payday. No. No, I didn't. The joke is just for you. No, it's not Payday 2.
Just for the audio listeners, Nick just held up a screenshot of Payday 2.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to be like, now the mobile version is fucking great, guys.
No, my pick of the week is actually piggybacking off of my discussion from the question. I like weird games. The pick that I have is a game called Disco Elysium, which is an isometric, literal role-playing game. It's definitely not traditional. It won in 2019 some awards for best narrative, visual art, independent game, role-playing game. You play as a cop, a detective who's investigating a murder, and all of the game's interactions are based on some dice rolls and stats. And they're not like traditional stats. They're stats they're all mental stats. And your character is basically a piece of shit. Like, to give premise, you wake up from a drunken stupor, and you're like trying to figure out what happened. And so your stats include like inner narration, your ability to piece things together, your ability to be charming, and your just general mental fortitude. And there's no traditional combat in the game. You do all these little dice rolls and interactions, and like just interacting with the world has the potential of hurting you. So, for example, you could play your cop as somebody who's book smart, but like very mentally and emotionally fragile. So, like when you talk to people, sometimes people will be like, "Why are you such a piece of shit? Like, why do you suck so much?" And like then you'll do a little roll, and if that hurts your feelings too much, you'll take damage, like emotional damage.
Okay.
Huh.
And so it's really funny because there's like I said, there's no traditional combat. You have to go around and try and find clues, and those clues are dependent. Whether you or not you find these clues out is dependent on your stats. And sometimes like you might play a cop who's like an alcoholic. So like in order to function remotely, you need to be having him consume alcohol, because then he gets stat buffs to take more physical and emotional damage. And it actually increases his ability to make rolls. And all of these, so there's like 3 main stats. There's four. Intellect, psyche, physique, and motoristics. But then each of those stats has 6 substats. So you might be, for example, book smart, but like not know very much about electrochemistry, which is pretty much your familiarity with drugs and your ability to consume them. Or you could be smart, but only in the field of electrochemistry, which allows you to understand the aspects of consumption and all of that. All of that sounds really complicated, but I'm gonna close it by like telling this story of and it's a clip on my Twitch channel. The time I got so sad that I died, and so I got to the murder scene where there's the body hanging, and the in the garbage beneath the body. Like I had my character search around, and my partner at the time is like, "Hey, what is that?" And I pick it up, and it's like my case notes. And he's like, "Dude, why did you let your case notes be in the garbage?" And I was like, "Don't worry about it." And I took a little bit of emotional damage there. And so I'm inspecting my case notes. I spent on stream like a good 30 minutes reading aloud these case notes, like about old cases, files, what I know about this case. So I learned a lot. And then like there's a perception roll, and it's like, "Hey, you hear a rattling around in your case file. What is that?" And you open up a secret compartment, and inside there's some medicine, a pen, and a photo. And I took all of it, and it's like, "Do you want to look at the photo?" I look at the photo, and there's like a note on it, and it's like a note from like I can't tell who it was from, because like as I'm reading it, it seems like it's from like my wife or my girlfriend, and she's talking about how much she loves you and how she's proud of you, and she knows that you're such a good guy, and you're all these things. And as I finish reading the note, like your inner monologue's like, I have to stop reading this. It's making me too sad. And he got so sad that I took another point of emotional damage, and my character literally just fell over, and I was like, "What happened?" And then it restarts me, and and I was like, "Oh my god, I got so sad that I died."
Oh,
Wow.
God. Wow,
Yeah,
that's something else. That's pretty heavy.
Moral of the story: don't go back and read your old live journal entries.
yeah, exactly. Disco Elysium is available on all platforms. It's coming out to console this year sometime, but it's on both Steam and Apple OS, iOS. And so if any of that interests you, definitely give it a check out. It's a story heavy game. I think it would work really well on the Nintendo Switch, where it's kind of portable and you could just kind of pick it up and put it down. So that's me.
I a quick comment on that, I guess. How you use alcohol to essentially keep yourself baseline or whatever. That reminded me of Condemned 2 Bloodshot on PS3 and 360.
Yeah.
The first game, you're an FBI agent. Well, both games, first game, you're an FBI agent, and then the second game, you have hit rock bottom after this case, and so you're essentially homeless, but you actually consume alcohol in the game to steady your vision and sometimes your use of weapons and stuff. So that's, I've never heard of any other game doing something like that. Normally you have drinking to like blur your vision, but so that's like the 2 games I've heard that would do that.
I really do not remember that on Condemned 2. I love Condemned 2.
Yeah.
I played it and reviewed it and finished it and everything. I can't remember that being a thing. So maybe
it's
something
necessary.
I just can't remember it. Misremembering maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, both those games introduced a lot of cool ideas that they did not fully flesh out. So that's probably why you don't remember it.
I thought Condemned 2 was an amazing game though. I love that game so much. So
yeah, I really like that one too. But that sounds interesting. I don't know that that'd be up my alley. I think honestly, for me, I think it would be more interesting for me to watch someone play it that's very engaged in it than actually try it myself, because I just can't get into genres like that. But
yeah, for sure.
Cool. So yeah, Nick, if you're streaming it a little bit more, then let everybody know and we can check it out. Yeah, sounds good. Cool. So I'll go next. My one this week is a little bit different. I've never done one of these before. I am doing a book, but I don't actually have the physical version of the book. I have it on Kindle. I've just actually brought up a screenshot on my phone. It is Mogworld. Okay. So Mogworld by Yahtzee Crosshaw. So some people might know Yahtzee. He is the guy who does the zero punctuation videos over at The Escapist, theescapistmagazine.com. So if you don't know Zero Punctuation, he does these little video reviews with his own little cartoon animated characters, and he talks very quickly, very fast. He's got a British accent. He talks like a bit like this. We know with zero punctuation, so he's very fast, very quickly.
His is heavier than yours, though.
So say that again?
I was saying his accent is heavier than yours, and it might just be because he's talking faster, though. In my opinion,
yeah. He's known for being quite sarcastic and satirical, and quite humorous. But he's written some books, and this book actually came out 12 years ago now. It came out in 2008, and I don't want to give too much of the plot away, but if I show you the front cover of the book again, you sort of give you an idea of stuff. So the front cover,
I thought that was a Magic the Gathering annual.
Yeah, so the front cover, it shows basically a skeleton kind of undead person with tattered robes, and what's there? There's a little rabbit at the bottom corner. Which if you read the book, that will make sense to you. But essentially, without giving too much of the main overarching plot or giving any spoilers away, the story is essentially about a guy who's a wizard in training. He's called Jim. And at the very start of the book, an army is attacking his magic college and he dies. And then sometime later, I think it's about 50 years later, he's suddenly brought back to life by a necromancer, and he becomes part of this necromancer's undead army, effectively. So he's an undead minion, basically, to a powerful necromancer. But during his time since he died, the world has changed, and now people can't die anymore. So living humans, like if I was to walk up to you, Scotty, and kill you, your body would die, but your soul would escape and you go away, and basically you'd be regenerated in a new body. So you'll be back alive again, effectively. But while people aren't dying, no one's being born as well.
Can I be a dog?
You cannot change into a dog, unfortunately. You basically come back
I reject this reality and continue my own. Thank you.
Love it. That's a Mythbusters quote, isn't it?
Oh, is it?
Yeah. I think in Mythbusters one of them wears a T-shirt that says that all the time or something. I can't remember. Yeah. Anyway,
that's the second time in my life that's happened. I apparently quoted Star Trek at one point, and I've never seen anything Star Trek.
Brilliant. But yeah, so essentially, living people can't die anymore, but it also means that the like Jim and the other undead, like basically, this necromancer raises hundreds of undead minions to do his bidding and like try and take over the world, and they can't die again either. So basically, Jim's favorite time of life was when he was dead. Like, so when he was dead, he was happy, he was peaceful. There was nothing bothering him. He's a very grumpy kind of sarcastic kind of person. And so his goal in his new undead life is to try and die, but he still can't die. The difference between the undead people, though, and living people is that if he dies, his soul leaves his body for a bit, but then it comes back into his body. So the more damage his undead body gets, like basically it just stays damaged. It doesn't repair itself or anything. He can't get a new body or anything like that. So there's the difference, basically, that these undead people who've been brought back to life, they still can't die as well. Whatever is affecting the rest of the world affects them, but in a slightly different way. And so, yeah, his ultimate goal of the book is to try and find a way to die, but also understand what's happened to the world in the last 50 years that has made the world so you can't die anymore, basically. So that's kind of the general beginning of the story. That's literally in like the first few pages you find all this information out, so like within the first chapter. So yeah, and I thought it was really good, very entertaining story. I have a book club at work, sci-fi book club, which I help run, and that was the book that was chosen most recently, and we all enjoyed it. We thought it was great. It's a very funny book, very enjoyable story. The characters in it are really funny. There's a lot of creative characters. So Jim, the main protagonist, is basically a dick. And you can kind of see his point of view, though, because he was happy dead, basically, and like now he's been brought back to life, and there's some really annoying characters around him who I think in some books or TV shows would be very annoying. But yeah, he in this book, those characters actually play off him quite well because of the character that he is. So yeah, I think definitely get a chance to read it if you can. And yeah, so Mogworld by Yahtzee Crosshaw.
Yeah. I know that he's really inspired by Douglas Adams, Yahtzee. So I'm a big fan of Douglas Adams as well. So I would be looking forward to checking it out. I might give it a shot. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy and Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency.
Yeah, and I think most gamers, and I guess I'm going to use the phrase nerd or geek or whatever. I think most people get a kick out of this book because
most losers will love this.
We're awesome. We're all awesome people. But yeah, I think it's aimed at that sort of target audience, and there's this fun paradox between some of the conversations people have and the kind of fantasy world they're in, which is just brilliant, and you don't normally get in fantasy books. So yeah, cool.
You said the main character's name is Jim, and he's a necromancer?
No, so he is a wizard. He was at this like mage college, basically it's wizard school. He is resurrected by a necromancer, though. So he's like a really bad wizard. He's done like the first year of wizardry, so he can basically make a fireball and do something else. Like I think he could put out small fires on plants by like spraying a little bit of water, but that's about it. He knows no real magic, and so he's brought back.
But yeah.
Yeah, he can still do some of his magic, but he's just not very good. So it's just kind of the situations you get into is just pretty funny. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
That sounds interesting. I didn't know that Yahtzee wrote any books, so I'm sure he's one of the better reviewers out there on the internet, in my opinion. So he's probably. I would imagine he's a decent writer too.
I've always enjoyed his reviews, and yeah, it turns out he's actually done a few books, like 5 or 6 books, I think, over the last 10 years or so. So there's a few out there, and I'd be interested to read some more. It's pretty decent.
Cool.
Yeah. So Scotty, What is your pick of the week? What is your pick of the week?
My pick of the week, we've mentioned it countless times before. We had a sideshow episode dedicated to it. The 1987 movie, The Monster Squad, which is a great film. Unfortunately, it was a victim of circumstance. It released a couple years after The Goonies, so everybody thought it was just a Goonies ripoff. The two movies are not comparable at all. Because Goonies is fun. It has, the theme song behind it.
Goonies is fun.
Goonies is fun. Everybody can relate to their neighborhood getting turned into a golf course. But behind Goonies had the cast and Spielberg behind it. Unfortunately, Monster Squad doesn't have a lot of that, but it does have. I'm really bad at names, but it does have some people that have done other stuff within the industry. And it is essentially a group of kids trying to stop the Universal monsters from gathering and taking over the world. I no joke, that's the plot. But people have probably heard this quote and not known what it's from. Wolfman's Got Nards came out of this movie.
Okay.
And which is actually also the name of the documentary for it. But it is, it's this and another movie kicked off the month of Halloween movies for me and Rachel. I think she introduced me to it, but I think it is genuinely my favorite Halloween movie because it's on the line. I would group it in with like Ernest Scared Stupid and stuff like that, like Hocus Pocus even. But the kids swear a lot in this movie, and I will preface this with, if you go to check it out now, some terms have not aged well because they do drop an F-bomb, and I'm not talking about F-U-C-K, but if you go back and watch the first Bill and Ted, it's in that movie a couple of times, so the 80s, I guess, whatever. That in mind, it has a PG-13 rating. If Chris was on this week, he would mention that this is what got his son Odin, his youngest son, into the Universal monster movies. So it is.
Okay.
It's cool. There's definitely swearing that you have to be, if you want to introduce your kids to Halloween movies, you've got to make sure they know that they should not use a lot of the terms in this film. But and I think that's unfortunately why it wasn't as popular as it could have been, because if they had just censored it a little bit in some areas, I think it could have been a family film rather than a PG-13. It's a fun, goofy 80s thing, and it is another one of those things where it's another movie that shows off a treehouse that a kid has that there's no way the child could create this thing or build this thing, but it's a clubhouse you would want to be part of,
Yeah.
But no, it's fun, and it. Unfortunately, there's no big names in it. I think the only recognizable actor is one of the bullies that is the older brother in The Wonder Years. I'm so bad at names. I should really look up this shit. But
yeah, I'm looking at the IMDb list now, and I don't recognize a single name of this. And I'm generally okay with actors' names, but Andre Gower, who's like the main guy, I recognize him at all. So
he hasn't really done much else. If anyone's into documentaries, the recently released In Search of Darkness, which is a 4-hour documentary on literally the full decade of the 80s of horror movies, they mentioned this one in there, and they have him in there talking about it, and he talks about how it really didn't do well because it wasn't sure of who to target in terms of the audience, whether it was. Yeah. I feel like it's unfortunate because it's definitely something that if this movie was out when I was 12, I probably would have loved it. Or if I had seen it younger, but I think if I had watched it in high school, I would have been I'm too cool for this because it stars children, but it's not nostalgia heavy. But it's really good. It's really fun. It's a lighthearted thing, and I think it's a good way to kick off Halloween month of movies if you don't want something slashery or thrillery or something like that. Yep. Unfortunately, it's kind of hard to find it. I finally, I've probably only known of this film for about 3 years, but realizing it was on Netflix or something, we finally bit the bullet and just grabbed it through Best Buy's site and got the Blu-ray. There are no bonus features on it. It's literally the movie and the chapters, which is a damn shame, especially for a Blu-ray copy.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Monster Squad is a lot of fun. I can't recommend it enough. If you like things like Goonies and Ernest Scared Stupid, Hocus Pocus, stuff like that.
Cool. So
So
I have a feeling...
either you guys seen it? Oh, sorry.
I was about to say, I have a feeling I've seen this movie when I was younger, but I'm not entirely sure. So I need to ask a question. Is there a scene...
Sure.
Well, as a couple of things. Do they have to go under their bed into the monster world or something? Is that how they get there? And
No.
is there a scene where they have to pick up batteries to put into their torches and the lights on the torches hurt the monsters?
Are you thinking of Gremlins?
No. Okay, so I haven't seen Monster Squad then. There's another movie that sounds very similar, that basically the monsters from the underground world are trying to take over a town in America or the whole world, I'm not sure. And only the kids seem to know about it, and they have to go under their bed to get into the world, and it turns out the monsters are afraid of light, and they discover this, and there's a scene where they're like going through drawers and opening cupboards and putting out batteries and like loading a gun. They're like an action movie. They're like shoving these batteries into their torches, like zapping the torches in like the monsters' faces and stuff.
No idea what that is.
Okay, so I don't know what I'm talking about, and I don't know what Monster Squad is.
Yeah, for a second I thought you were talking about the Disney movie Don't Look Under the Bed, or it's called something like that.
It might be that. I don't know.
They do literally go under the bed into an alternate monster world.
It could be that.
They don't like lock and load their batteries though. There's none of that.
Oh, okay.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so I don't know what you're thinking of, but the Monster Squad is a lot of fun.
Okay, I'm gonna have to check that out.
No, the Monster Squad, they literally fight the universal monsters, like Frankenstein's monster, Dracula, Gilman, Creature in the Black Lagoon, Wolfman.
Okay, yeah, I need to watch it. I know of Monster Squad. I know it's a thing. I've just clearly never watched it. I thought I had, based on what I just said, but apparently I've been describing the wrong movie.
That's okay. Check it out, though. Monster Squad, somehow.
Yeah. Nick, have you seen Monster Squad, or do you have any opinions on it? Okay.
No. But I might give it a shot.
Yeah, I think I might see if it's available over here, like on Amazon or something, if I can.
It's only like an hour and a half long, if even that, I forget.
Yeah, cool.
So, it's just a darn shame it got compared to Goonies so much that nobody gave it a chance, but it's really... I'm not going to sit here and say it's better than Goonies, because that would be like saying, like, Ready Player One is better than James Bond. Like, they're not the same thing at all.
Right, okay. Yeah, I can understand. It's one of those, because it's got young kids in it going on an adventure. Goonies.
Yeah, literally just kids in the 80s swearing at grown-ups. That's somehow how it's like the Goonies.
You'll find that on Netflix. Because you liked kids in the 80s swearing at grown-ups.
Right, yeah. Because you hate big corporate America, here's... That's my pick, though.
That's brilliant.
Nice.
Well, some good picks there. And for the audience at home, if you watch any of our stuff or play any of our stuff or read any of the stuff that we talk about, let us know, because we'd love to hear your opinions on it as well. Do you think it's a good pick? And just to be clear, we're not saying these are the best things in the world, but we're enjoying them. We think they're fun, and especially in this whole lockdown world, why not give it a try? What's the worst thing that could happen?
He's a ghost.